The forgotten idea of organizational structures as signaling thing. The history of organizational theory is often told through its great ideas. Loose coupling, institutional myths, transaction cost, resource dependence, population ecology, and sensemaking have all become intellectual landmarks. Yet some ideas, despite their originality and promise, quietly disappeared from the mainstream literature. Marshall W. Meyer's 1979 article, Organizational Structure as Signaling, is one such example. Reading the article today is a surprisingly modern experience. Meyer addressed one of the central puzzles of organizational theory in the late 1970s, the growing divide between rational models of organization and emerging perspectives portraying organizations as symbolic, loosely coupled, or even chaotic. Rather than choosing one side, Meyer proposed an elegant synthesis. Organizations, he argued, do not change their structures solely to improve coordination or control. Structural change itself may serve as a signal. This seemingly simple proposition has profound implications. Organizational structures are not merely channels through which information flows. They may themselves constitute information. A new department, a reorganization, the appointment of a vice president, or the creation of an office for affirmative action communicates intentions that would be far less credible if expressed only through formal announcements. In Meyer's memorable formulation, the structure becomes the message. The idea drew inspiration from Michael Spence's emerging theory of signaling in economics, but translated it into the language of organizations. Structural change is costly enough to be credible, yet often less costly than enforcing new policies through extensive monitoring and control. Reorganizations therefore become communicative acts, signaling priorities both to organizational members and to external audiences. What is particularly striking is how naturally this argument fits into the intellectual landscape of the late 1970s. Meyer engaged directly with Herbert Simon, James Thomson, Oliver Williamson, Carl Weick, James March, Johan Olsen, and the institutional perspective of John Meyer and Brian Rowan. His article reads less as a critique than as an attempt to reconcile competing paradigms by introducing an additional function of organizational structure: communication through signaling. From today's perspective, the article appears remarkably prescient. Contemporary research on organizational legitimacy, reputation, symbolic management, corporate communication, and strategic signaling often rests on assumptions closely related to Meyer's central insight. Yet organizational structure as signaling never became a canonical text. More than 4 decades after its publication, it has attracted only modest scholarly attention. Why? Perhaps because Meyer offered an exceptionally powerful intuition rather than a fully developed research program. The article proposed a compelling metaphor, but stopped short of building a systematic theory of signaling in organizations. It offered predictions, but no comprehensive conceptual framework, no operational vocabulary, and no sustained empirical agenda capable of generating a distinct school of research. As a result, the idea remained intellectually attractive without becoming intellectually cumulative. This makes Meyer's article an intriguing reminder that the history of ideas is not determined solely by originality. Some concepts flourish because they are repeatedly elaborated, institutionalized, and championed by generations of scholars. Others remain elegant insights waiting to be rediscovered. Marshall W. Meyer's signaling perspective deserves such rediscovery. At a time when organizations increasingly manage impressions, legitimacy, and stakeholder expectations through visible structural changes, his central argument appears more relevant than ever. Sometimes organizations change not because structures improve performance, but because changing the structure communicates that change itself has begun.